Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everybody's doing all right. So, as always, we'll wait a few seconds for everybody to get fully connected, and then we'll get started. All right, so we're going to get started with 4-4 today, do 4-4 and 5-1. Then we'll talk about how we're going to move forward, that chapter two test, not chapter two, but test two, that will be ready to actually take care of. So we'll talk about that before class is over. Also, apologies for last class. If you saw the email, my car broke down, so put me in a tough position. So we'll go ahead and do, like I said before, what we're going to do last class, which is 4-4 and 5-1. And then we will move forward. Both of them are relatively short sections. One is one of those closeout sections where there's not much in there. It just talks about these statistical paradoxes that we may encounter. And then 5-1 is an introduction to the normal distribution, which is very light as well. So in statistical paradoxes, section 4.4, they give us four different, type of scenarios that we may come across. And then I'll give you examples of, where these may, occur. A true positive is when an outcome is when you have an outcome where the model correctly predicts the positive class. I got to get it out. So it's an outcome where the model correctly predicts the positive class. False positive is an outcome where the model incorrectly predicts the positive class. All right, anybody holding on a true positive? Scroll up some. Right. A true negative is an outcome where the model correctly predicts the negative class. And then, of course, the next one, the final one, will be a false negative. That will give you a chance to write down the stuff. Holding on a false positive. So then we have the last one, which is a false negative, an outcome where the model incorrectly predicts the negative class. So, for examples that I could think of, and the ones that I saw in the book, they were mentioning tests, different type of tests you could take. One that most definitely resonates right now is the COVID test. Of course, pregnancy tests, mammograms, drug tests. Polygraph was one as well. So, for an example, if you're talking about a COVID test, a true positive is if you were to get the positive um, result and it's actually accurate. Once you get your COVID test, if you do one of the home tests, and once you get your result, you should go get checked to make sure, by going to something that's more accurate, like a doctor's or something like that. So a true positive is if you accurately got a positive result. A true negative if it's negative that you have COVID, and it's accurate that it's negative. False positive is when you get the positive readout, but it's not true. False negative is when you get the negative readout. In other words, it's saying that you don't have it, but then you go get checked, you actually do have it. So that's an example of false negative, false positive, true negative, true positive. Questions on anything? And of course, if you see anything in math lab that you have a question about, make sure you bring them to class. We can talk about them, because next class is going to be a review day. So you most definitely will have next class at your disposal to ask whatever questions you want to ask. Is everybody done copying this? All right. So that's it for 4-4. That's the only things that they emphasize in 4-4, which are those 4 different outcomes. Everybody has it before I go to 5-1. All right. So let's look at 5-1. 5-1 will not be a part of what's on your test, but just want to go ahead and knock it out. It's more, like I said, introduction to what chapter 5 is about. So I'm going to go ahead and knock it out. So it starts off, the title is What is Normal? And we're looking at the normal distribution. And we talked about this already to some degree, just a little bit earlier in our earlier sections. So we have our normal distribution, our bell-shaped curve right here. And so that first statement, symmetric bell-shaped distribution with a single peak. And that's what we're looking at right here. That peak corresponds to the mean, median, and mode of the distribution. So mean, median, mode will be right here in the middle. Give me a chance to write those 2 before I scroll up. Scroll up. And then the variation of the distribution can be characterized by its standard deviation. And we'll get more into that and what that means as we progress forward. Start talking about using standard deviation to measure how far a value is away from the mean. So like I said, we'll talk about that more after this section. You know, if I go up too far. Right. So the total area under the normal distribution curve is equal to 1. So the shaded area, the purple area, that's going to be equal to 1. And that's going to matter later. So everything under there is equal to 1. And as a percentage, that's 100%. Anyone holding on to dark blue? All right, so conditions for normal distribution. So a data set satisfies the following four criteria. Um, is likely to have a nearly normal distribution. Mhm. So most data values are clustered near the mean, giving a well-defined single peak. So you see right here, this, you go here, that's the bulge, and most of your data is right there at that peak. That's all that's emphasizing. All right. Data values are spread evenly around the mean, making the distribution symmetric. So we talk about it being symmetric. That means whatever goes on the left side goes on the right side, and vice versa is mirrored. You know, it mirrors each other, and the mean is in the middle. And then just like before, well, I already talked about it, but we had this have this bulge in the middle, where majority of our data is. And as we move away from the middle, less and less of our data exists. That's why the tail is created and it gets smaller and smaller. And that's what point three emphasizes. Larger deviations become increasingly rare, producing the tails. So as you move further and further away from the mean, whether it's to the right or to the left, you know, greater than or less than the middle, the mean, then there are less and less values. That's why you see it represented, you know, in the tails. You know, it's a little bit of values going away from the mean. Anybody holding on to number one? All right, then the last one, individual data values result from a combination of many different factors, such as genetic and environmental factors. All right, scrolling up. All right, hold on to number three.
Yes.
Oh, all right, here you go. All right, how are we looking at? Can I scroll up some? All right. So they give you an example in this section. It says, which of the following variables would you expect to have a normal or nearly normal distribution? Everybody holding on to number 4. All right. So let's look at this first one. In this example, it says, which of the following variables would you expect to have a normal or nearly normal distribution? So it says scores on a very easy test. So first thing we have to emphasize here is that this test is very easy. So it's not a normal test. It's not a regular test. So we would expect this test to be skewed left and not normal, because that means since it's easy, we expect majority of people to make a high grade. And so majority of our data values will be pushed over here to the right, which means we'll have our tails. The least amount of people will be over to the left. So it needs to be skewed left. So majority of the information or the majority of the people will be greater than that, greater than 50%. Just in other words, high values, because it's an easy test. So high scores. So majority of the information will be to the right, or the majority of scores will be to the right, and the least amount of our values will be to the left. So that's why we would assume this one would not be normal. All right. Questions on A? So B, foot lengths of a random sample of adult women. So this one would be considered normal, and it's because of that last point. Um, Different factors such as genetic and environmental. And so we would expect this to be normal distribution because it's based on genetics and also in environmental. Genetic and constitution. Let's do it like that. May not remember, but we expect this to be normal distribution because it's based on genetic and environmental factors. So of course, we're talking about growth and everything is more genetic than anything. Growth of feet. All right, and then the last one, IQ scores of adults. Once again, we expect that to be normally distributed because it's based on genetics and environmental factors. All right, questions. Anybody still copying? Everybody can like scroll up. All right. So we are done with chapter 4. And that last section was 5.1. And that's all they really had in that section. That's the only example I saw. So if you see something else in that lab, you have questions about it, feel free to bring it to class and get knocked out. So what's going to happen is that between today and tomorrow, I'm going to remember I mentioned that test 2 was going to be proctored. It'd be in our best interest to go ahead and get a proctored test. And now, when we deal with stuff like mean, mode, and median, so we have the flexibility of, if there's a harder topic, I can just shoot it in the math lab and you can do it on your own. The way a proctor test would go is that you'll come into Zoom. You don't have to come in person. You come into Zoom like you normally would. You have to enable your camera. And I'm going to send you an email with these details and instructions. You have to enable your camera because, I haven't seen everybody up to this point, but you bring an ID. A regular license is fine if you don't have school ID, a picture ID basically, and you show it to the camera. Once you do that, then I will send you the password. So you will not get a password until test day. And then after that, you stay logged on through Zoom, keep your camera on, go into math lab, use the password, and you have access to the test. So now this test will be timed. It's between class periods, just like if it was an in-class test, you would come into class and take the test during that class period. So it will be time to simulate an in-class test.
This is next week.
Excuse me?
Next week or this week?
Well, I'm gonna get to that. Give me a second. Okay. Let me get through that preliminary stuff, right? So, matter of fact, let me do this. Let me do that. I need to remove it. Yeah, there we go. So, so you come in, like I said, you do that, and you leave your cameras on. You can use your notes. I don't mind that. What else? Oh yeah, the makeup. So now let's say if you don't do as well as you like, there will be a makeup that will show up on the same day, later on that day. And now the highest you can get on is an 85 to try to keep the integrity of the proctor test. You have to do something along those lines for me to give you the opportunity to pull that up. Now, good thing about the way I have to have class set up is that an 85, scoring an 85 on your test does not stop you from making an A out of the class. As a matter of fact, you have an 85 average on your test and you do all your homework, that still bring your grade up to an A. So, but excuse me. But I do have to do something along these lines in order to, like I said, to keep the integrity of the fact that we had a proctor test. All right. So the way I was thinking that the best way for us to handle this is to have next class, which is Monday, to be a review day, in which I will not do anything new, whether you show up for that day or not. No new material will be discussed. It's just all questions. So you guys will bring your questions to class, and you'll have the test review to look to see if you have any questions on anything. And then the 28th, we could take the test. So to me, that would be the best option. Now, the other option is to push it a day. In other words, do the review here, do the test here, but we have to do something here. So that means we'll have to go into a new section of chapter 5 or something like that. So, I'm not really fond of, bringing in a new section that has nothing to do with stuff that we're dealing with right now. So I think the best bet for us is to, like I said, next, you have the weekend to look at the test review. And then if you have any questions, you come in on Monday, bring them. If you don't have any questions, you don't have to show up. I don't like to hold people hostage. If you don't have any questions for me on Monday and you're ready for the test, just come in on Wednesday. Take your test on the 28th. But I think that would be the best scenario for us to go ahead and knock this proctor test out. Questions on anything I've said?
When are you doing the review in my math lab?
Say that again now.
When are you going to be posting the review in my math lab for?
But between this evening and tomorrow. So I'm gonna send you an email. Second. Oh yeah, I'm gonna send you an email as soon as I post it, so you'll know it's there. Yep, and it will be in math lab. It'll be set up just like the other ones. It'll be set up like your homeworks. You can do an unlimited amount of tries and everything like that. All right. Anything else? Anybody else? Anybody? So like I said, if you don't do well on the proctor test, there will be this makeup opportunity. You won't see it until after the test though, and then you'll have the ability to knock that out or do it as soon as possible, just like all the other assignments in math lab. All right, so the makeup is gonna pop up, is gonna show up after test, after we take the test. So sometime the evening of the 28th, that's when it will show up in math lab. I'm gonna program it to come up. Look, our class is 12:30 to 12:30, something like that. So sometime after our class, I'll have it, programmed to show up. And then it says, and if you're not available for a test, if you're not available for a test, shoot me an email. Because this is how I tell people all the time. I try to give you guys, little tidbits for other class. When you ask me a question in front of the class, you'll always get a class answer. But if you have an individual situation and you want an individual answer, you got to ask me individually. So that's for every instructor. So just throwing that out there. So if you got an issue with taking the test on Wednesday or something, got something coming up or whatever, shoot me that email and we'll discuss options for you, whether it be bonus points or doing the test review. Yep. If you do the test review and get an 85 on the test review, then I will add 5 points to that test, no matter what you score on it. Yep. Yeah, no problem, not a problem. All right. Questions on anything else? Any other questions? See another one? Yeah, okay, cool, no problem. Anything else? Anybody else? Everybody good? So once again, Monday, we'll be reviewing, and then Wednesday, we'll knock this test out. I heard somebody unmute.
I did on accident.
Say that again? Oh, you did on accident. Okay, got you. All right, test review for 1 and 2 other graded count. Your test reviews are not mandatory. No matter what test review I post, they are not mandatory. But if you score 85 or better on the test review, I'll add 5 points to that respective test. But if you don't do it at all, or if you go in there and get a 20 or something because you're just messing around with stuff, it would not count against you. Anything else? Anybody else? Anybody? All right. So, see somebody in the chat. Planning on finishing the test one. Okay, sounds good, sir. Sounds good. As long as you got a plan, I'm with you. All right. So, with that being said, keep a lookout for that email from me, letting you know that the test review has been posted. Like I said, the goal is to get it done this evening or no later than tomorrow. And you'll be able to look at the stuff, create your notes accordingly, and then hopefully get ready for this test next week. All right. So you guys have a great weekend. Be safe, and I will see you on Monday. All right. Thanks. You have a great one as well. Thank you.